My stepsister stole my diamond necklace and replaced it with a fake. She went pale when I exposed her as a thief to her own boyfriend. I saved up for 2 years working doubles at the restaurant to buy myself a diamond necklace for my college graduation. Not some huge flashy thing, just a simple solitaire on a white gold chain that cost me $3,000. I kept the receipt, the certificate, everything in my jewelry box because it was the first real piece of jewelry I ever bought myself. My dad married Jenna's mom when I was 15, and Jenna was 13. And we got along fine until she hit college and turned into this person who thought everything anyone else had should automatically be hers too. She'd been eyeing my necklace since I got it 6 months ago, always asking to borrow it for dates, getting mad when I said no. I only wore it for special occasions and kept it locked in my jewelry box the rest of the time. The lock wasn't super secure, but it was enough to keep casual hands out. Last month was my dad's 50th birthday party at this nice steakhouse downtown. I wore my necklace because it was a big deal. All the family was there, including Jenna's boyfriend Blake, who she'd been dating for a year. Jenna kept touching my necklace during dinner, telling Blake how pretty it was, how she wanted one just like it. Blake said maybe for their anniversary. She said she wanted that exact one. Everyone laughed like she was joking, but I saw her face and she wasn't. The next week, I went to wear my necklace for a job interview at a law firm. When I opened my jewelry box, something was off immediately. The necklace was there, but the chain looked different, cheaper, and the diamond didn't catch the light right. I took it to the jewelry store where I bought it, and they confirmed what I already knew. This was cubic zirconia on plated metal, worth maybe $50. I went straight home and confronted Jenna. She was sitting on the couch doing her nails, totally calm. She said I was being paranoid and that I probably bought a fake in the first place. Said the jewelry store probably scammed me and now I was trying to blame her for my bad purchase. When I showed her my receipt and certificate, she said those were probably fake too. Anyone could print those up. My dad and stepmom came home right then, and Jenna immediately started crying, saying I was accusing her of being a thief. She ran to her room and came back with my actual necklace, wearing it, and said this was hers that Blake bought her for their anniversary early. She even had a receipt from a different jewelry store dated a week ago. My stepmom immediately took Jenna's side, saying I needed to stop being jealous that Blake was a better boyfriend than any guy I'd dated. My dad said we both had necklaces and should just be happy with what we had. He actually suggested I should apologize for making Jenna cry. I knew Jenna had to have the real receipt somewhere because she'd need it for insurance or if she ever wanted to sell it. Her room was off limits according to my parents, but I didn't care anymore. When everyone was at work, I searched everywhere. Nothing in her jewelry box, nothing in her desk. Then I checked her closet and found a folder labeled Important Docs, hidden behind her shoes. Inside was my original receipt, my certificate, and a handwritten note with Blake's credit card information. She'd used his card to buy something at the other jewelry store to get a receipt, then returned it. I took photos of everything, especially the handwritten credit card info, then put it all back exactly where I found it. That weekend, Blake came over for dinner. Jenna was wearing my necklace like she had been every day, really rubbing it in my face. During dessert, I casually mentioned how nice it was that Blake spent so much on jewelry for Jenna. He looked confused and said he hadn't bought her any jewelry yet, was actually saving up for their anniversary next month. Jenna went white and said he probably forgot he bought her this necklace last week. Blake pulled out his phone to check his credit card app, saying $3,000 would definitely show up. Jenna tried to grab his phone, saying she meant it was a surprise he wasn't supposed to know about yet, but Blake was already looking at his statement. He saw the charge and the refund from the jewelry store. He asked Jenna why she bought and returned something from there. She started stuttering about how she was comparing prices. Then he asked to see the receipt she had. She couldn't explain why the receipt showed a purchase when his card showed a return. I pulled out my phone and showed Blake my bank statement from 2 years ago with the $3,000 withdrawal, the original jewelry store's transaction on the same day. Told him to check the serial number on the certificate against the necklace Jenna was wearing if he wanted to be sure. Jenna tried to say I was setting her up, but Blake was already done. He told her to give me my necklace back. Jenna sits frozen at the dinner table, my real necklace still around her neck, while Blake stares at her with this look of complete betrayal. She finally unclasps it with shaking hands and slides it across the table to me. The second I touch the real chain again, I feel this rush of relief mixed with anger at everything she put me through. The weight is different from the fake, heavier, and the diamond catches the light from the chandelier above us the way it's supposed to. I close my fist around it and look at Jenna, who won't meet my eyes. Her face is red and blotchy from crying, and she keeps opening her mouth like she wants to say something, but nothing comes out. Blake stands up and tells Jenna they're done, that he can't be with someone who would steal and forge documents using his credit card information. Jenna starts crying harder and reaches for his arm, but he pulls away and walks toward the front door. She follows him, begging him to wait, to let her explain, but he just keeps walking. My stepmom immediately turns on me like this is somehow my fault for exposing what Jenna did. She stands up so fast her chair scrapes against the floor and points at me. She tells me I'm happy now, that I've destroyed Jenna's relationship and humiliated her in front of everyone. I don't respond because there's nothing to say to someone who thinks calling out theft is worse than the theft itself. My dad finally speaks up and asks Jenna directly if she really stole my necklace and faked the receipt. Jenna is standing in the doorway crying, and when she can't look him in the eye and just keeps crying, I see something break in his expression. His shoulders slump forward and he looks older somehow, tired in a way I've never seen before. Stepmom jumps in saying Jenna made a mistake and we should handle this privately as a family. She glares at me and says airing dirty laundry in front of Blake was unnecessary and cruel. I tell her I'm done protecting Jenna from consequences she earned, and Stepmom's face goes even redder. Dad asks everyone to calm down, but his voice is weak and nobody listens. I stand up from the table, still holding my necklace, and walk to my room. I can hear Jenna sobbing in the living room and Stepmom comforting her, telling her everything will be okay. I lock my door behind me and sit on my bed, finally able to breathe properly for the first time in weeks. I open my jewelry box and put my real necklace back where it belongs. Then I lock the box and hide the key in my sock drawer. I pull out my phone and text Blake to thank him for believing me and standing up for what was right. He responds about 20 minutes later saying he feels like an idiot for not noticing Jenna's behavior sooner. I tell him he's not responsible for her choices, that she fooled everyone including our parents. He thanks me for being honest with him and says he needs time to process everything. I tell him I understand, and that I'm sorry he got dragged into this mess. The next morning, Jenna won't come out of her room and Stepmom is giving me the silent treatment while making pointed comments to Dad about how I destroyed Jenna's relationship. She slams cabinet doors while making breakfast and mutters about how some people can't just let things go. Dad looks exhausted and conflicted, drinking his coffee in silence. He finally asks me if I'm happy now, and I tell him I'm not happy, but I'm done being called a liar in my own home. He sighs and says he understands but wishes things could have been handled differently. I ask him how else I was supposed to handle it when nobody believed me, and he doesn't have an answer for that. 3 days later, my cousin Liana calls me upset because Jenna has been messaging extended family members, claiming I set her up out of jealousy. Liana says Jenna is telling everyone that Blake was abusive and controlling, and that she's the real victim here. I'm furious that Jenna is still lying and manipulating people even after being caught red-handed. Liana says several relatives are asking her if the story is true and she doesn't know what to tell them. I send Liana the photos of everything right away. My original receipt, the certificate, the pictures of Jenna's hidden folder with Blake's card info, and screenshots of the jewelry store confirmation that my necklace was replaced with a fake. Liana is shocked at the evidence and says she'll share it with family members who are asking questions. She tells me Jenna's lies are getting out of control, and people need to see the truth. Within 2 days, my phone starts blowing up with messages from relatives. Some are apologizing for doubting me, others are saying they don't want to get involved in drama. A few are still taking Jenna's side no matter what evidence they see, saying I should have just let her keep the necklace to avoid all this trouble. Brock Morris, my uncle's son, sends a long message saying he always knew Jenna had entitled tendencies. He says he's sorry the adults didn't protect me better, and that he believes me completely. His message makes me cry a little because it feels good to have someone actually acknowledge what happened to me. Dad sits me down in the living room and admits that he's been avoiding the truth because dealing with Stepmom's anger is exhausting. He says he knows what Jenna did was seriously wrong and he should have defended me at the dinner. He looks genuinely ashamed when he apologizes. But I tell him an apology doesn't fix the fact that he chose keeping peace over protecting his own daughter. He nods and says he understands if I need time to forgive him. Stepmom confronts me in the kitchen the next day, demanding I tell everyone I lied about Jenna. She says her daughter is suffering from the breakup and family judgment and it's all my fault. I refuse and tell her that Jenna's suffering is the consequence of Jenna's theft and lies. Stepmom actually tries to grab my phone to delete the evidence photos, but I pull away and Dad walks in right at that moment. He steps between us and tells Stepmom to back off, that I have every right to defend myself with the truth. Stepmom backs up when Dad steps between us, but she's still got that look on her face like I'm the one who ruined everything. Dad tells her they need to talk in their room and she storms off without another word. I lock myself in my bedroom and pull out my laptop, opening rental sites and scrolling through apartments I can actually afford on my restaurant salary. Most of them are too expensive or in sketchy neighborhoods, but I keep searching because I can't stay here anymore. The walls feel like they're closing in, and every time I hear footsteps in the hallway, I tense up wondering if it's Stepmom coming back for round 2. My shift at the restaurant the next day is busy enough that I don't think about home much, and during my break, my manager Helen sits down at my table with her own coffee. She asks how I'm doing, and I guess my face gives something away because she tells me I look stressed. I don't go into details, but I mention I'm looking for a place to move out, and Helen's eyes light up. She says her building has a studio opening up next month. Rent is $900, which is tight but doable if I pick up extra shifts. I tell her I'm interested, and she gives me the landlord's number right there. By the time I get home that night, I've already called and set up a viewing for Saturday. The house is quiet when I walk in, and I head straight to my room without checking if anyone's around. I spend the rest of the evening looking at the studio's photos online and doing the math on my budget, and even though it'll be tight, I know I need this. My mental health is worth more than having extra money in savings. 3 days pass with Jenna hiding in her room and Stepmom giving me the silent treatment, which honestly is better than her yelling at me. Dad tries to act normal, but everything feels fake and forced, like we're all pretending to be a family when really we're just people stuck in the same house. Saturday morning, I drive to see the studio, and it's small but clean, with big windows that let in tons of light. The landlord is this older guy who doesn't ask too many questions, just wants first month's rent and deposit. I tell him I'll take it, and he says I can move in on the 15th, which is 3 weeks away. I sign the paperwork right there in his office, and when I walk back to my car, I feel lighter than I have in weeks. That afternoon, I start going through my stuff, figuring out what I'll take and what I can leave behind. I don't have much furniture since most of the bedroom stuff belongs to Dad, but my clothes and books and personal things will fit fine in the studio. On Sunday, Jenna finally comes out of her room while I'm in the kitchen making lunch. She corners me by the fridge with this whole speech about how sorry she is, how jealousy made her do terrible things, how she's learned her lesson and wants to make it right. The words sound rehearsed, like she practiced in front of a mirror and her eyes keep darting away from mine. I wait until she's done talking and then I ask her straight up if she's actually sorry or just sorry she got caught. Her face changes immediately, the fake sad expression dropping away, and she snaps that I'm being unfair and not giving her a chance. She storms back to her room and slams the door hard enough that Dad comes out of his bedroom asking what's going on. I tell him Jenna tried to apologize, but it was all fake, and he sighs but doesn't argue. Later that night, I knock on Jenna's door and tell her through the wood that we need to talk. She opens it a crack and I can see she's been crying, but I don't let that change what I need to say. I tell Jenna straight up that I don't forgive her, and I don't trust her, and that we're going to be civil strangers living in the same house until I move out. She tries to push back, saying family should forgive family, that we grew up together and that has to mean something. I point out that family shouldn't steal from family or destroy their belongings and frame them for being crazy, and she doesn't have a response to that. Her mouth opens and closes a few times, but nothing comes out, and finally she just shuts the door in my face. I go back to my room feeling like I got some power back, like I finally set a boundary that needed setting years ago. The next few days are tense but manageable since Jenna and I basically avoid each other completely. Dad texts me on Wednesday asking if I want to grab lunch on Saturday, just the two of us. I agree because I've been wanting to talk to him alone anyway, and Saturday afternoon we meet at this diner halfway between home and my work. He looks tired when he sits down across from me, older somehow than he did a month ago. We order food and make small talk until it arrives, and then Dad puts down his fork and tells me he's been thinking a lot about how he's handled things since marrying Stepmom. He says he realizes he's let her dictate too much about family dynamics, that he's been so focused on keeping peace he forgot his job is to protect his kids. He admits he should have believed me about the necklace from the start, should have stood up for me at that dinner instead of suggesting I apologize. The words sound genuine and his eyes are wet when he tells me he understands if I need distance, but he hopes we can rebuild our relationship separately from the mess with Jenna and Stepmom. I feel something tight in my chest loosen a little bit, and I tell him I'm willing to try because he's actually taking accountability instead of making excuses. He asks if I've found a place yet, and I tell him about the studio, and he nods and says he'll help me move if I want. The next 3 weeks crawl by with Stepmom giving me the cold shoulder and making pointed comments to Dad about how I've torn the family apart. She never says it directly to me, but I hear her through the walls, going on about how families are supposed to stick together and how I'm being dramatic. I spend most of my time at work or locked in my room, counting down the days until I can leave. I pick up extra shifts to save money for furniture and to avoid being home, and my coworkers notice I'm more stressed than usual, but nobody pushes for details. Helen checks in a few times to make sure I'm still planning to take the studio, and I assure her I'm counting down the hours. The day I sign the lease officially, I come home and start packing in earnest, boxing up my clothes and books and the few decorations I have. Dad knocks on my door that evening and offers to help me move, which feels like progress, like maybe we really can fix our relationship once I'm out of this house. Stepmom makes a big show of being too busy that day, saying she has plans she can't cancel, and Jenna stays in her room the entire time I'm packing. Honestly, I'm relieved neither of them wants to be involved because the last thing I need is Stepmom's passive-aggressive comments or Jenna's fake apologies while I'm trying to get my stuff out. Moving day arrives on a Saturday morning and Dad shows up with a borrowed truck from his work buddy. We load boxes and bags into the back, making trips up and down the stairs while Stepmom stays in her bedroom with the door closed. Jenna's door stays shut too, and I don't bother saying goodbye to either of them. Dad and I work in silence mostly, just focused on getting everything loaded, and when we're carrying my last bag out, he stops on the porch and gets emotional. His voice cracks when he tells me he's proud of how I stood up for myself even when it was hard, that he knows he let me down, but he's grateful I'm giving him another chance. I tear up a little because that's what I needed to hear months ago, but I'll take it now. We hug on the porch and then climb into the truck, and I don't look back at the house as we pull away. My new studio is on the 3rd floor of an older building with good bones and quiet neighbors. It's small, but it's mine. Just one big room with a kitchen area and a separate bathroom, but I don't have to share it with anyone who might steal from me. Dad helps me carry everything up, and we spend the afternoon setting up my bed and unpacking boxes. He leaves around dinner time and I order pizza, eating it sitting on my floor surrounded by half-empty boxes. The first week I organize everything exactly how I want it, hanging my clothes in the tiny closet and arranging my books on the shelf I bought at a thrift store. I put my jewelry box on my dresser and keep my real necklace in it, and every time I walk past I feel this sense of relief that nobody's going to touch it. Helen brings me a housewarming plant on Tuesday, a little succulent that sits on my windowsill, and Liana visits on Thursday with takeout and wine. We sit on my floor eating pad thai, and she tells me how proud she is that I got out, that she knows how hard it must have been. I realize sitting there with her that I'm building a chosen family of people who actually respect me, people who believe me and support me without making me prove myself over and over. I establish a routine over the next few weeks where I see Dad for lunch every couple weeks, but I don't go to the house and I don't ask about Jenna or Stepmom. Dad respects my boundaries and our relationship slowly improves now that we're interacting on my terms, without Stepmom's influence hanging over everything. He mentions once that Stepmom started therapy, says it like he thinks I might care, but I just nod and change the subject. I don't wish her harm, but I also don't need to know about her progress or lack of it. My life is better without that drama, without constantly defending myself or watching my back. I work my shifts at the restaurant and come home to my quiet studio and watch whatever I want on TV without anyone commenting. I wear my necklace when I feel like it and leave it in my jewelry box when I don't, and nobody touches it or borrows it or makes me feel guilty for having nice things. 2 months after moving out, my manager calls me into her office and tells me she's promoting me to shift supervisor with a decent raise. I almost cry right there because I've been working so hard, and it feels good to have someone notice. The extra money means I can afford my rent more comfortably and still put some in savings, and I feel like I'm actually building a life instead of just surviving. My first day in the new position, I wear my real necklace to work, and when I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror, I see someone who looks stronger than the girl who got called a liar in her own home. The necklace catches the light just right, and I touch it briefly, thinking about everything it represents now. It's not just a pretty piece of jewelry anymore. It's a symbol of everything I've overcome, and the self-respect I've gained by refusing to let people treat me like I'm worthless. I'm in a good place now with my own space where nobody touches my things or makes me feel crazy for protecting what's mine. My boundaries with Dad are healthier because we meet on neutral ground, and he doesn't bring Stepmom's drama to our lunches anymore. I haven't spoken to Jenna or Stepmom in months, and honestly, it's exactly what I need for my mental health and peace of mind. Some relatives still send me messages every few weeks saying family should forgive and move forward, that holding grudges only hurts me in the end. My aunt called last week saying Jenna misses me and wants to apologize properly this time. But I've heard that story before, and I'm not interested in round 2 of her manipulation. I've learned the hard way that protecting my peace is more important than maintaining relationships with people who don't respect me or my boundaries. Blake texts me occasionally to check in, and we've become casual friends, which is nice because he gets what I went through without me having to explain everything. I'm genuinely happy with the life I'm building on my own terms, working my way up at the restaurant and saving money in my studio apartment where everything stays exactly where I put it.